Hi, Designs. I thought I'd do something a little bit different today for anybody that doesn't have a colour book. I didn't want people to kind of think they've got to go out and get a colour book, although people do like the books. I have a particular bit of a doodle that I do, which is a flower, but I want to show that you can use really anything. So I used a stencil and drew some shapes, and then I coloured it in and decided just to use pinks. Here I've drawn the same shape and then done some little doodles in them. Here I've used the squares. So this is my fake hobonichi. I might have to put things to one side because we'll have an avalanche. So I've used, I made a fake hobonichi, and it's probably got 600, it's got 600 pages in it. And I used the backing for this one, and because it was an A4, the actual back, when you mine's made with layout paper, so I buy the A2 or A1 size, huge. This one's A3, this one's A2. Yes, so we've got photocopy paper size, 2 of those, that's A2, that's A3, and this is A2, and then 2 of those would be A1. So I have, it's downstairs, but I have a layout pad this size, and I cut them up to make my pages. They're not quite as thin as the Japanese rice paper, but that you can see through them. That's why they're called layout paper. So you can trace certain things, or you can trace these shapes, these squares. And this is just ordinary refill paper. You can see the dots. You can see the dots here. Just have to, I don't know why this does it all the time. Just bear with me a second. It does it every single time. It drives me nuts. I'll use the pen. I really must. I can't find my, right, just see if I can find. I just have to take the automatic focus off because it'll drive me insane. So I bought a new brush pen a couple of weeks ago when I went to Coventry. No, the boat race, Cambridge. And this is the Pentel GFKP brush, and it comes with a one refill, and it's waterproof paint, so that's quite good because it means that, let's just see if I can get this back. It means that you can draw cut shapes and then you can color them in and they're not going to smudge. But today I think I'm going to draw them in pencil because I kind of want something a bit thinner than that, and my rotary pens need a clean. So normally I work with a rotary pen. I tried to do things for the hobonichi, but I'm not really good at diaries and talking about things that happen. So just doodles, different patterns, and then I colored them in. You can do the pattern, color them in, or you can do the whole pattern and then color the whole thing in. Playing about with my doodles, playing with stitches. So I decided I used to do a lot of black work, embroidery stitches, so they make perfect doodles for filling in. And for some reason, this one always tells me that the automatic focus is not on, when in need it is. So let's have a look. Hopefully that will work. So again, more doodles, and I alternated the pages for so there's a square page and then there's a blank page, and the reason for that is that if you overlap this, you can see the squares through. So it just gave a bit of a doodle. So I just like doodling and colouring. So I thought this would be quite good because sometimes we get a bit bored with our colour books, or if you've finished all your colour books, we can do some designs, and these are inspired by the squares at the back. A couple of them, I think it was a child's stencil that was for chemistry. Again, doodling with pencils, although this is quite a few years old now. More stitches, and mistakes, things that I don't like, things that this was just very loose, and I don't work loose. It doesn't work for me. I have to be kind of really precise. So I think, there's some more doodles there. Then this is a section of just lines, and then you do certain patterns inside those lines. So that's another way to do, not kind of Zentangle, because we get into trouble for saying that, but it's a repetitive pattern that you can use, and then you can colour them in. That looks like graffiting again, so sometimes I can tell what I've done. Lots of mistakes, lots of things that I don't particularly like, but it's a doodle. Just doodling, and I've kind of gone off my original flowers. So I found this is I drew this when I was 16 years old. This book. It had my original logo bunny designs from when I was a graphic student in Leeds, and this is the original pattern from that silk, the silk skirt that we were allowed to use for a few weeks from Leeds Art Gallery or Museum. So these are the originals, and I like the originals, so I thought I would trace them, and so they've evolved into this, but I still like to go back to the original ones. And I found that recently while I was sorting things out. So there's still a similarity, but I've lost that lovely shape that really, really made the proper shape. So I think I'll go back to this. And again, that was the line one, to do little patterns in between and then colour it in. Oh, hi, Sandpat. Welcome to Bunny's Design. So I think we've come to the end. Again, just using the squares, and then I'll go back to it and start doing other things. So I bought the brush pen, and this is the first play with it. And I thought it was kind of a bit bitty. So this is the second play. And then I was following the squares to make patterns. So I think I'm going to start on this page, and I'm going to copy I'm going to trace these patterns. This one I did, this sketchbook's about 25 years old. I was expecting Amy. Sorry, it's 23 years old. I was expecting when I went across, and I went across Europe with Nigel. So some of the colours, the colours evolved, and I like the colours. So I thought I would go through this book and recopy the originals. So I'll have them in this big book that's going to take a long time to fill. And as I say, they've got the perforated holes in here because, I wasn't going to spend a fortune on lined paper. This is just a refill, and I can live with the lines. I put them at the bottom because it's very rare that you go to the bottom of a page. And I use this also for my Midori. If you do this 3 times, you get your Midori size. So I use this for my Midori because I do bullet journaling in my Midori, and I also use these for my Halifax as well. So I have a lot of these pads. I use them because I can't use lines. I'm very, very I'm very, very untidy writer, and that keeps me a bit neater. So it helps me just kind of be that little bit better. So I've got a set of pens out. I think I'm going to use the Derwents because they happen to be handy. It's a good set of 24. They're very, very bright. So I think I'm going to be using these, and I am on a slope, so we may have to just be careful what we do. It's quite old, is this? So the glue has come apart a bit. So if I take that from here, you see this is just this recurring doodle. I think I will take the shapes from here and the colours from the other one. And that's the actual piece. That's what it feels like. Now the hobonichi has really, really thin paper. I would think it's nearly as thin because, as I say, there are 600 plus pages there, and so that's not that fatter book rather. And I've just realized that I've got my 2 perforated holes at the bottom. I need to move the camera down a smidgen. That's okay. Shall we just see if we can straighten that up a bit? And again, I want to be able to draw something and touch and go. I'm not wanting to mix colors really. This particular set, look, my Neos, I had a small set of 11 Neocolor 2s. Are you okay?
Yeah, this should be enough for you.
All right. You still want to move it about in case it's not broken? What did Alison say?
She said, bring the doctors.
Sorry about that. Hubby had a tumble yesterday. So when I broke my scaphoid, I had they didn't put a pot on because it was when we had the heat wave a few years ago. So I was given an arm splint, which stopped your thumb. It's a bit like the arthritic one I've got, but it's a bit longer, and it has a thumb guard, so it keeps your thumb in a certain position if you've broken your wrist or anything. So I popped that on for him. So so I did like that way up, but actually sometimes it looks quite nice that way up. So that is quite a large one, that one. I'm going to use a pencil, I think. So again, tracing something really easy, and I just want to do a doodle. And then what I can do then, when I've traced it and coloured this page, I can then turn this over and trace it again and put the squares in it. And then I have another set. Now, watercolors don't go through this. In fact, I might have to do a test page actually. I may have to do a test page because I know some of them don't, but actually the ink tens are quite strong. So I'll just have to do a tester with that spare piece of paper. I know the Neos don't go through, and I've used the Derwent watercolor pencils. When I used to go and to do lots of model railway shows, I used to take this hobonichi, fake hobonichi, which has a lovely cover, and I can't find it, with me, with my little book of watercolors. And a Watercolouring isograph, Watercolouring technical pen, and the number and a watercolor brush, and that was all I took with me. And believe me, when you're behind a stand with the trains going on videos for hours and hours, for 2 days, sometimes 3, you need to be able to chillax. And I didn't used to take a pencil. I usually just draw straight with a pen, and my hand is aching using this pencil. And I've only just done half of this. The other way to do it is to do it on tracing paper, and then keep your tracing papers in a file, and you'll end up with lots and lots of different patterns that you can just pick up and trace, a little bit like a stencil, but I think I've got all that. I mean, it is thin paper, this anyway, but it's not that thin. So I think I've got all that one. Kind of like that. So I've got a pattern. Can we see that? I've got a pattern. I think that is supposed to be a butterfly. So I know it's the other way, but it's that way. A minute. And of course, the nicest thing is when I take this off, you could put a couple of clips to hold it steady if you wanted. You could put a clip on it to hold it all steady if you wanted, but I'm not really. It's quite a simple design. But I just wanted to show what you could do. Once you have that particular design, you can use it quite a few times through the book. In different ways. And the other nice thing is, you've no color now, so you can forget these colors and start with fresh colors. And over the years, the colors change. So some of these colors I like, but my colors have changed. Oh, hi, Darla. Welcome to Bunny Designs. Anybody else popping in? So I'm playing in my fake hobonichi. So I can color this, and then I can turn over the page. And I actually have, when I made this particular hobonichi, I didn't have the cardboard for the side. So this is a sketchbook, and the sketchbook was this size. It was A3. So yes, I could cut them. So it's A3. So I cut the back of the sketchbook into 4, which gave me the back and the front of these. When they are in, you can use these cereal packets. I've used those as well. When these are in their cover, you don't see them. Mine's completely covered because the inside of my pocket, which I wish I could find, has 3 pockets for putting pens in and for putting paints in. So mine really was a complete system. So that gave me the 2 backs, and then the pages I folded and cut in half, and then I folded in half and made the signatures. So as you can see, that's the stitch, and that's one signature. I think if you can see that, you see that's one signature. And you have to start with a back, and then you redo it, and we go, and then the last one you incorporate the last one. It's the Copic system, Japanese binding. I got this method from Sea Lemon, probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, quite a long time. I used to make lots and lots of books, so that's, I use a sketchbook for that, but then I used the backing of the sketchbook for this one. So that gave me a sketchbook that I could use water with it, and it also gave me my fake hobonichi, because Tight Yorkshire Lass wasn't really going to pay all that for a hobonichi. I'd love a hobonichi, but they are very expensive. So and I don't think they've come down in price. So if I just go back really quickly with this, obviously when I draw it in pen you can see it better, but as I say, my pen is just playing up at the minute. So I've got a little tiny flower there, and again it's all kind of trial and error and messing about, see if we can get that in, which we can't. So I'll do another one. I can get that one in. You can still do this. You could still do this with your iPad. You could just take photographs of shapes and then incorporate the photograph, and then create a layer and doodle, and that's in Procreate. And you can trace it, and then you can delete the first layer, which is then going to give you your outline. As it's going to be kind of a pattern, I want to fill the space. So it's going to look really busy, but the colours should be nice. Oh, no, I've missed that bit off there. I've forgotten it has a tail on the top. I may just get that one in. I'm not going to fuss if I can't get so many in. I'm bound to be able to. To be able to copy some somewhere, because I've got so many. If you can't, I'll probably I'll probably copy it. then you can trace it. I can trace it. I've got my tracing paper. I'll trace it, and then I can put, if I trace it at the edge of the paper, I can put it where I like. And what you find is you've got quite a few. If you keep the tracing pad, if you keep the tracing pad, you can end up, if you keep the top on it, you can end up with a file of all the tracings you've done, and then that's kind of an instant doodle. One sheet. Sorry, it's going to be a noise. Sorry, guys. It's going to be a noise. So just because it's somewhere where I can't reach, it doesn't mean I can't use it. So I think I should really make a copy of every one on its own anyway. So if you want to make sure that you're not going to move, use a clip at one side. I didn't pick up the other clip that's underneath. Everything drops behind there when everything slopes downwards. So this is the one I want near the edge. So I would think if it's for your personal use, there are a lot of images that you can get, but then you've got to kind of trace them and you've got to print them off. So I'm trying to incorporate these into a stamp because I use them for my Bible journaling. I find it's a very simple little doodle. And the surprising thing is, I probably will try and use this pen in a second. The rotary pen doesn't go through Bible pages. So I can draw in Indian ink that's permanent in my Bible pages. So just make sure we've got everything we want, which we have, and release that. Now it is a bit faint, I have to say. I didn't do it near the edge enough. Typical, didn't do it near the edge enough. I've got that flower. I could have that one. So I need to put, and again, tight Yorkshire lass, try and get as many images as we can. So it's like when I see people baking on television, they put the cutter, if they're making scones or anything, they put the cutter in the middle. I think, no, you get 6 more out of that. Just being a tight Yorkshire lass. So even though it's just one piece here, and then I'll show you another trick. So instead of scratching the whole back with black, and this is why I prefer tracing paper to any carbon paper, because with carbon paper you can't do this next trick. And this is the trick I used when I did the backgrounds for the Joanna Basford colour books. I don't colour backgrounds in but I fill them in with images that have already been drawn. So I've got this image here, which is brilliant, but if I just turn that over and draw over it in pencil, oops, I don't want to do it there. Oh, I can do it there, look. Right, I draw over it here. I'm killing two birds with one stone because I'm making a reverse copy. Sorry, Snoopy, just as I say, she has this tendency to just bark all the time at anything. Mainly at so you've got to be quite accurate with this because we are transferring the color. Sorry, we're transferring the image. So I've been all the way around. So when I lift this off, I have a trace. But when I turn it over, I now have a stencil for both sides. So this one. So you must be accurate because you need a pencil line over the other one. So you're transferring the design onto the page and you're also making a reverse stencil. And reverse stencils are brilliant because it's the same nice image, but it's backwards. Obviously doesn't work for lettering and numbers, but everything else it does. So now when I turn that over, I've got a stencil on both sides. I just have to, I'm just going to go over this so you can see it. And then when we're satisfied that it's filled in, obviously if you don't want a line around it, you can just color it, but you need to see what I'm coloring because I don't think it'll pick it up. But normally you wouldn't go over it like this. You would just, because this pencil will run if I wet it. It's a graphite pencil, it's ordinary lead. And I stopped doing this because my hands hurt. So it's going to look really busy, but it's not going to bother me that much. And then we have this one up here. The idea again is to spend time creating something that we're going to enjoy colouring, because if you don't enjoy it, if you don't like it, you're not going to colour it. So again, we need it to be something that we like. So if I look at a smaller pattern to see what else I can do, some butterflies. That one's just a bit too big, but I think I have a smaller version of that one. That's a nice one. So again, if I trace them all onto here, then put this in a file, then I'd have a whole series of images to just pick out and do. So again, it's another one of those chores. It's another one of those things to do because we've got lots of time. And this is what we're doing. We're filling our time. So it could be lettering, it could be doodles, it could be images, it could be patterns. Your favorite thing, now is the time to make. And I say squish them up a bit so you're making use of all the stencil page, because the more you get on, the less you need. So I can squish this one in here. I think it will go in. Just, you don't want it really, but you can see if we can get that in there. If in doubt, just go as near as you can. And if you're not sure which is which after you've filled it, put a number in. So inside this one, I could put a number 1 in each one. And I know that all those go together. And then I can put a 2 in this one. Because we're not going to touch the middle. So it doesn't matter, but you only want the outside. So I've got kind of a guide there, and this one could be number 3. And then let's see if we can get a little butterfly. So again, you need to go over the butterfly. But if we're going to put the butterfly there, if you use the stencil as you make it, you're not going to be wasting it, because I'm transferring it as I'm making it double-sided, if that makes sense. Hope that makes sense, guys. And this is how I filled the background in for the Joanna Basford ones. I took her image, traced it, reversed it, and maneuvered it somewhere so I could fill the whole background, and then I wouldn't have to colour in the background, because I don't like colouring in backgrounds. When it's watercolouring, it creates a bit of a buckle if you've got a big space. Having said that, if you did fill the whole of it, you then can do that. So I kind of think that's enough for there. I might put something in the middle. But what you can then do, so we've got this page and we're colouring it in. I can then see through that. I'm not sure if you can see that. But I can see through that, and then I can trace it. So I'm going to do that now. But what I am going to do is put the 2 clips on, because if I put the clip there, we should be fine. And then we've got the same image, and then we've got another trick as well, which I'll show you in a second. So we have a choice. It's on lined paper. We can play with the squares. You don't have to be exact. If you can be a bit loose if you want. It's just the fact that it's just going to give you a general idea where things are. So you've got one traced image that we've made, and we can get as many as you like, because you can continuously do this because it's thinner paper. I've got a squeak on my So the other one could be lovely, a soft colours. This can be really bright colours. So again, you've got the same image, but you can use it in lots of different ways. You could do black and white, or you can do a grayscale. The possibilities are endless and you can take it as far as you want. And then if you're bored with it, you can just draw another one and rearrange everything and start again. So you don't need to go out and buy a colour book. You can use, I buy children's photocopy paper because I find it's nicer quality and it's a quarter of the price. If you go to any hobby place for adult tracing paper, it's a darn ridiculous price. So I always buy, I look at the quality. Wilco's children's one is really, really nice. And that is actually what you could then do is buy 2 packs of cheap tracing paper and give one to the children. So you could trace some images for the children to then trace onto their little book, and then they could have a book, and then they're doing what Mummy and Daddy are doing, and they feel so much grown up doing a grown up thing, when in fact we're doing a childish thing. So I hope you can see this. I've never done this in pencil. I normally do it in, as a motoring isograph pen, so it's clear. Oh, but we can see what I'm doing, so that's important. So I hope everybody's keeping well and keeping safe. So again, start a hobonichi and or make your own hobonichi. So probably takes you about 2 hours, maybe. If it's this particular book, I'll tell you how many signatures there are. And again, it's another job to do, but I will warn you, you need to keep an eye on your stitches, because if you make a boo-boo, it looks messy. I have some other books that I've made where I covered the stitches up. So again, if you're not going to show your stitches, then obviously you don't have to be neat, but there's something quite nice about showing the stitches, because again, it's a process. You've made the book, you've made the signatures, and of course you can put in it what you like. So I wanted this square, but then I wanted the other one at the other side, so I wanted to be able to write neatly, and the layout paper allowed me to do that. And the other nice thing about the layout paper is it allows you to work with an isograph rotary pen, a technical pen with permanent Indian ink in it, which a lot of them won't. So I finished that particular one there. So we've got our original, and then we've got one drawn here. So what we can do with this is we can draw it again. Now, if I put, I'll do it a third time. Now, normally I wouldn't. Normally I'd put something here, because you have to put something here because you will transfer that pattern onto here. But just shows that you can kind of carry it on indefinitely. This particular pattern. You can now do this. Now you do need a fairly sharp point. I would use a hard, no, I wouldn't use a hard pencil. You do need a bit of a soft pencil, because we want to transfer the lead onto here. And we want to push the other lead onto the page below it. So I've drawn this out once, traced it as I want it, and now I can use it. I could use it all the way through the book. All I have to do is to keep doing this. So I'm a bit worried about my daughter going back to work, because it's only her third day, because she was poorly and had to have 2 weeks off. But I'm not sure they're going to have PPE. And being quite young, she's not going to argue with them. She won't argue. She just does as she's told. So I'm a little bit concerned. But I can't say anything because I can't stop her going. It's a new job. And she's decided to do it instead of caring for animals. So I don't know if anybody else is in the same boat. That's a bit worrying. But I've got short-term memory loss, so I will have forgotten about it in 10 minutes' time. When my kids were little, they used to call me Dory. So you could, if you had a certain image that you wanted to redo, you could use it as many times as you liked. I'm doing it this way because I want to show that we can have one really bright colours and we can have one paler colour. You must stay on the line when you're doing this because you are technically tracing it on the page below. If you didn't want it to go any further, but you wanted to draw on here, put a blank piece of paper on there. I have to remove that clip because it's in the way. And again, if you feel that you need to, turn it round so it's comfortable. And my wrist is killing me now because this is why I don't use a pencil. I've probably just got enough to do this. But I wanted to show you that and if you create a certain page that you like, then you obviously might want to color it. Again, like a bit like the color book pages. I bought a couple of the Kirby's. One was by mistake, and I was not impressed with Amazon in America because they charged me 3 times the price to deliver it when I wanted it online. But it was 3 in the morning, and I just clicked Amazon, and it looked like it was my page. It went into my account, which was in the UK, but not sure what that's all about. So it does look quite nice that way up, actually. I like the flower. So I've got my original one. I'm working backwards, aren't I? So I've got my original one. And then I traced that. So I've got one on squared paper. And then I've traced it back. So I've now got one on plain paper. I've got one on square paper so that I can do a pattern. I've got another one on square paper so I can do a pattern. And I've also got, I don't know if you can see that, I've got the entire pattern on there on plain paper. So I can do bright colors, bright colors, pattern, pattern, pale colors. And again, you can carry on and carry on as much as you want, providing the wrist doesn't do what my wrist has just done. My coffee is horrible with soya milk, oat milk. but no more because I don't have any more milk. The milk's in the fridge downstairs, so the chances of me getting any milk for my tea and coffee. But I've got a lot of herbal teas, so it's a good excuse to get used to my herbal teas. And I've lost another couple of pounds. Herbal teas are us. This particular pen here is the water and fade proof permanent ink, so you could draw around it with that one if you wanted. I find I'm still pushing down with this. When you're using the brush pen, doesn't hurt, and my rotary pen, I'm going to keep my mask because the doctor gave me that one when I went to the doctor's, because my asthma and my breathing were really bad. So, and I didn't want to go in. I said, I'm frightened. I'm all right. I just want some more pills. I needed some more prednisone. And then, but they wouldn't have it. So here I am. But anyway, I was all right. So I've got the rotary pens, and I think this is the one that blobs. Oh no, I've got to find one of these, see if I can get one. I'll leave that one out and remind me. I think you can buy the nibs on their own. So this one is the next. This is the very fine one as well. So okay, I'll show you what it does. So again, and what I've done with it is I've filled it up and I haven't cleaned it, so it's not plain ball. But this is 0.18. Now they don't normally, but I haven't used them for months. And what it is, it's a tube. That's a tube, and there is a thin wire inside the tube, and it's the wire that scratches. And you can see on this one, because this is broken, you can see my daughter must have this is my original one from 1979. This was bought, but if you can see that wire sticking up, and I do it on there, there's a wire sticking up. So the metal bit has been broken and it's left the wire. In fact, it probably still would work if I did that. And it's the wire that scratches, and that's why it doesn't work on watercolor paper. You can only use it on fine paper because you're scratching a wire, and that's what gives you the fine line. So I might actually have a play with that one. And I know what my daughter's done when she was a little girl. She's done that and she smashed it. But that is one of my original ones from 1979 when I first started graphics. So I'm going to keep that one out. I'm going to rewash that one. And then this is the next size up, which I put white in this one. Did I put white in it? Oh, no, I didn't. Yes, I did. I put white. I put white in this one because I was going to sketch on black paper and I never got around to it. And this one should be I haven't played with them. Normally, even a few months, you're all right, but I haven't actually played with these for years, so that's probably why. And we've got this one's got white in it because it's got the tab on it. Unless I changed it. Did I change it? No, it's got white in it. See, this one's all right. There should be a little bubble in there's a little ball bearing that keeps the ink flowing. It's got white in it, you see. There it is, it's coming out. It's there. The little ball bearing isn't there. So what I normally do is I shut it and I tap it. But it's going to be completely useless being white. Yeah, it's there. Like you see, it's writing beautifully in white. There you go. And I've not picked this one up for years. I did it about 3 years ago. I put the white in a long time ago, and it's perfectly all right. And because you're stroking, again, I'm not doing this. Oh, thank you, darling. Yes, I'm sure she will. I'm sure she will. It's just me. It's just me being daft. So I can have really strong colors. I can have a pattern, so I can use these squares and do kind of similar to this one. See, this one, I didn't draw the lines, I just did the patterns. So there's no outline. This one's got the outline, squares. or I did the background of that one and left the flower image without. So there's loads of different variations, and you can just really, as I say, that one I drew it and I traced round it. That's the same, I think. I was practicing with the stitches again. I practiced first of how I wanted it to go, and then I had a go. And then I liked some of the stitches better than others, so I used them on the different ones. I can't remember how I did most of that, but if you can see the little patterns, so every one is a pattern, and I've drawn round it. This one I've left. I haven't done anything with this one. Again, this is all rotaring. I've just got one pen. I had one pen and I had my little book of watercolors, and one pen, it lasted me for hours. I did this one weekend when I was I haven't done it online. This is that again, that's another doodle. Again, some I really like and some shapes I don't, but they're all different. But it's playing. It's just, it's not the fact that I'm doing, I'm creating something at the end of it, which is all right. It's the actual act of doing it, because when you're filling in all these big spaces with black, you are in that zone, you are in that chilling out zone, and that's what's important. So this was, I haven't got the stencil, but even I bought these for my children when they were little, and of course now they're older, they give me them back. So now I've got nearly two of everything, because everything I bought one, I bought the other. We might not want to use the lettering, but we could do letters. Again, it's another good way of doing letters, but we've got shapes. So we've got this shape here, so we could just use that shape and this shape. We don't have to use them. In fact, I might just do that. Let's just pick a, I might do that with the pen, because just to show you what you can get out of a child's stencil, just being that little bit creative. If you don't like the pages, you can tear them out, because the opposite page will come out and you haven't destroyed the whole book. That's another advantage of making your own books. So where we've done that one, we've done that one, we've done that one. So let's try, and these are ready to colour, which I will colour in a bit. Right, so now we've got a clean slate. I'm going to leave that one and start here. And again, I'm working backwards because I'm dyslexic, and also I just like working that way. If I put that, I've got, it's better for this, a bit, probably a bit too much. I've got this one might do better. That puts me in the middle. Hopefully everybody can see everything then. So let's take this one. It's years old. In fact, that's quite dirty, that one. But as you can see, there's little dots, there's lines, there's circles, there's crosses and things on this particular one. Let's see if I can find a cleaner one than that. Some of them, they're not showing up particularly well. There it is. That's what that one is. So again, we've got diagonal shapes, a lot of diagonal shapes on that one. And then you start to kind of play about. Now I did have this particular one, and it's the helix again, but it was the scientific one, and that had all these shapes which were like Bunsen burners and petri dishes and things like that. So we've got petri dishes, we've got pills, we've got hexagonal ones. All these shapes were on that, and I can't find the stencil anywhere. We've moved everything into the bedroom, so nothing's sorted really. So I'm going to go with that one. It's a bit dirty, but I like the shapes, and it's a traditional one. It's a dead easy one. That's another one that's probably an easy one as well. Again, but the nicest thing is, if you find some lovely shapes, I don't know which one that one is, you've got some lovely lettering. You can do the lettering inside and play with those patterns. So this is a child stencil that I must have bought. Again, it's a Helix one. It's probably been in a set of something, but we've got a heart, we've got an egg or a semicircle, we've got these shapes. So don't think of them as shapes as what they're supposed to be. So that's a butterfly and that's a bear, but think of them as other shapes. Again, that looks like a light bulb, but we've got an oval, we've got some circles. So we've got some really neat shapes, and of course they're dead easy. They are designed to be like that. That's another one that I've bought 2 of, but we've got all these lovely lines and shapes that we can use, especially the 0 in that one. So I'm going to leave those out. You can mix and match, or again you can use one stencil till you're bored with it and get another one. I'm going to use that one to start with because I do like this particular one. So again, clean slate, doing it on there, and I did have this as a pencil there, but I want a pen. Trust me to not have the pen that I've just had. It wasn't far away and it's gone now. I've got a dark, oh wait a minute, what's that one? I've got a very dark pencil, but I just want that. I'm going to use this one. Don't normally use it. Now the thing with stencils is you've got a flat side and you've got a raised side. So if you put it on the flat side and move, you get a smudge. So we're going to use it on this side. We're not doing the lettering, so it's okay. So if we get a square dead in the middle, we can do this. So or we can do this. We've got that goes across there. Try and get it in the middle like that. So we've got unusual shapes, and then we've got these shapes which we can go that way, we can just make shapes. So you can just keep playing and you can do all sorts. And we've got so many on here that we can use because they're I've got a triangle here, so then we can turn that upside down, and where's M and N gone? There, and then we can put 2 more triangles, so you can repeat the pattern, so you can really do lots of really good things. So we've got a bigger triangle here, so we've got a bigger triangle, and because it's got the ridge, it's cut that way it will smudge, so we can use it upside down because we're not technically using it for that particular reason. We can put, that is a bigger one, so again we can just move it. And again, if you are going to fill this page with repetitive shapes, it's going to take you a good few hours. It did me. It takes hours to fill it, and then it takes you a good couple of hours to color it. So you have a day or 2 to make it, and then a day or 2 to color it, and it's all your own work. There's something quite nice about it. It might take you a bit of time to get used to it, but there's something quite nice about just creating a kind of a doodle. And this pen is quite good. It's not as good as my others, and you can't refill them. And again, as a tight Yorkshire lass, I really hate that. But it's not going to bother me too much. So again, we can make that a circle. Just miss the middle out. We can join the circles up if we want to. And then when we're colouring them, we can do all sorts of things. And nobody's going to know that little bit, again, you really want to have your wrist at the right angle, but nobody's going to then know that it wasn't a colour. When you've coloured it, you probably won't see it anyway. So you've got two choices. You either fill it in or... So it's just a real good fun way to do. So we've got a bigger triangle. So this is a bigger triangle here. So we can, and it again is the art of moving the stencil around and playing with it. Now I must admit I did like the other one I bought, the Helix one. I'll see if I can find it actually. Let me see if I can find it, see how much it is, because some of the stencils are £5 and £6, which it defeats the object really, unless it's something that what else would be? So it's a Helix. I've actually remembered. I think it's called a chemistry. Template. So they're there for £4.95, that one, but I think mine was different. I think that's mine, I think. That first one's mine. That's the one I've got. It's a flow chart. So that's the one I've got. It's a Helix 035260 flowchart stencil template. I use the little diamantes there. I've used the circles. I've used that. I've used every single one on this page. So there's the little triangles. That's a circle that I've just gone round and round and round. That's the, I can't read the word. What does it say? That's the Terminator. That one. I said it was a pill. There's the Process, which is the just boring square. And I really like this one. It's got the online storage drum, which is this one. And I love that. Oh, Darla said, I've got the same book out, Little Squares. Oh, yes, the little squares. They're really, really good to follow, because then you could even go inside these and do the squares as well. So there's lots of different variations. This one is the long square one, and you've got diamonds in there as well. So I've got diamonds, then a diamond in the middle, then a circle. So there's, and the little triangle. It was a lot of work putting that little triangle, but they're not exactly perfect, and actually that makes it quite nice. There is a slight, I've moved slightly. If you notice, they're almost exact, but not quite. But again, that's quite nice, because it means that it's a bit more human. Again, this one's got the diamonds. You can do all sorts of patterns and then put patterns in within patterns. So you could put the circle in that one, the circle in that one, and then color it when you've finished. So what I could do at the back is draw through it. Is I could trace all those patterns and leave it black and white, and then color it in black and white. So that's why I've that one's the 2 and the diamond shape, and using the crosses, using the squared paper. So there's all sorts of things we can use, but I like the stencil idea purely because it worked, but I can't find the damn thing. It says it's $6.95, $6.16 it says. Not sure how much it is. Not sure how much it is UK. Let's have a look. They've got a bit bigger one, but I like they've got one with Bunsen burners on and things. But I like my original one, but I can't find because I've had it a long time. Probably bought for the kids. But really loved it. But again, we can get away with some of these shapes. We don't necessarily need that one. As I said, we can get away with. I don't know when I did it now. Did I do it on that one? Did I do it on that one? This one. And then when it's coloured through, you will see it on the other side. So it means you can draw it again because you can see it again on the other side. And then you have one that's coloured and one that's all black and white shapes. So there's all sorts of kind of nice things. Then if we have, there's a little square, which is the same size square. So we can either colour that, do that one in, or we can be neater and put that in. This is another neat shape here, which is that one and that one. And we could do that. And we could put the triangle that way, line it up and do that. And then we've got a space in between as well. So again, not only think of the shapes, but think of the negative shapes. So again, and that again, doing that, you're not drawing something perfect and you've got to concentrate. You are doing a stencil, and it's because you've got a guide that your brain doesn't overload itself. So again, you've got you can just keep doing this stencil, and yes, it's supposed to be a Z, but I see a pattern. I see a pattern, and you can be a lot neater than I am. I'm just showing you roughly what you can do. If I carried on this tomorrow, then we could colour that as well. And it's the process of doing this that makes it work. It's the process of mark making or pattern making. So if you're not happy with the Zentangle thing, then you can do this. And then we've got the choice because we've got the squares, so we can fill the squares in and make more patterns within patterns, which technically is a Zentangle, even though we can't call it a Zentangle. It's a I don't know what you would call it, probably a stencil doodle. Shall we call it a stencil? Your individual. I mean, everybody that uses this particular one will do it all differently. Nobody will probably come up with the same idea, and the color people uses as well are different. So it becomes a unique piece of artwork. And anything that does that, I say takes us time, is also quite nice. So I need, in fact, I did do it that way up and it was fine. It didn't smudge. I need a little square to go in the middle of that one. And then we want another circle, which was that one. Put another one there. And then when these patterns touch, we can just leave them. But again, it takes hours. And this is what being creative, but with a little bit of help. So again, that one's not in the middle, that square, so we'll have to just do that. And we could take that one. We've got, there's just so many on here that even this one is quite nice. I'm going to leave that in there because I'll forget which one I used. If we just turn over, oh, somebody's drawn in that and used it as a thingy. Do you know you can't have anything, can you? Never mind. Let's pick a nice lettering one. Again, the green one's quite nice. You can see that quite nice. But I think I like the lettering on that one. It's very similar. I think that one's identical. What we can do this time is, it's a bit bent, is that, but it doesn't matter, is we can play with the alphabet. So we can either do our own doodle, and draw the alphabet. So then we've probably then we'll find we've got some quite nice lettering to use in other parts of our arts. If you're doing a journal or anything, you then know that you've kind of got a set of letters. Just fit that F in there quite nicely. And you can have them touching or not, depending. So then you can start kind of, you can either be quite, we've got some squiggles here and some dots. We've got dashes, we've got dots. So we can make patterns inside or we can make patterns outside. Put that gap there. We might get them all on then. So there's all sorts of things And of course, if you get these in cheaper shops, these are quite nice, these helix ones, but I don't think I paid a lot for them. And the reason I got them is for the girls, but so you can buy your children them and use them when they've gone to bed, and they'll be none the wiser. Oh dear. Oh gosh, that's Alfie. That's Alfie. Sorry about that. Frankie's in the doghouse. She's attacked Alfie. She's a bit of a bully, is our Frankie. She is. She bullies Alfie. But he's a bit of a wuss. She pins him down. She doesn't do anything. She just pins him down, but he is a bit of a wuss. She likes to chuck her weight around. She is a bit of a bully, I have to say. Because she's in Romania. They just run wild, and it's the survival of the fittest. And they push a lot. They push a lot, and Alfie doesn't like pushing. He's a bit of a wuss. He's our Alfie. He doesn't understand that she's playing, but then he squeals, and she doesn't like him squeal, and then it sets off to something else. Then she thinks he's being aggressive when he's squealing, and it's just the fact that one's English and one's not. So they're getting on with it though, but it doesn't happen very often. Normally it's about 30 seconds just, but it's just a bit with Alfie. Now I'm going to squash that one on, I think. I'm going to try and squash that one on. In fact, if I just push that one up slightly, you might get them all on. She has time out when she's done that, but unfortunately she's no idea what she's done. Absolutely no idea. She's no idea that she's doing it. It's just normal to her, but it's just annoying. Pat, just about 2 seconds. Yeah, will you ask Alfie up? You should look at Alfie. Right, what's she done? I don't know. Oh dear. Oh dear. The trouble with rescues, there's always something going on. I might just put 1 to 7. I think I might squidge them off. Let's see if I can squidge them on. So we've got that. So you can just colour these in, oops, as they are, or you can kind of do a pattern in them. It's a bit squishy, squish, squish, but I've got them all on. I don't need the 0 because I've got a knot there, which is very similar. Hello, darling. Hi guys, I'm gonna have to go because she's put a hole in his ear. She's a rat bag. She's put a hole in his ear. It's not my blood, it's his. Gonna keep him quiet. So I'll come if I can, but thanks for watching.